Hello, my name is Mark Douglas with The Sea Within You, and I'm assuming that if you're here, you're interested in subpersonality work and understanding what that is, or perhaps you stumbled upon this because you're interested in psychosynthesis. Either way, I'm going to try to provide a simple little framework that I learned. It's the 5 stages of subpersonality work, and I learned that through Dr. Dee Furman, through the Synthesis Center, and my studies there. So, as a framework, it's not meant to be the full truth or perfect. What it gives us is these 5 stages. And I'm going to try to walk through explaining this in a very practical manner and giving you the stages. You can decide for yourself if this is something that works for you. If you've come to this from other psychologies, excuse me, you might understand subpersonalities as internal family systems or various other names. But for the purpose of today, I'm just going to call it subpersonality work because Roberto Assagioli, the founder of psychosynthesis, originally came up with subpersonality work, and I believe that internal family systems was kind of derived and borrowed forward from there. Okay, so venturing through the 5 stages of subpersonality work. First off, what is an actual subpersonality? So I'm going to read off the slides here to give a bit of context, and I'll try to weave through here. It is easy to assume that we're just one kind of steady, unchanging person, and that's absolutely valid. If you don't buy into subpersonalities and that we're only one thing, that's great. Stay with that. You don't need to buy into what I'm trying to sell you here today. But I'm going to assume that we have these subpersonalities and that you're willing to entertain and play with this for a while to see if it resonates with you. So it's easy to assume that we're just one steady, unchanging person, but that's a myth. Inside of each of us, there are diverse subpersonalities that shapeshift. Depending on the scene, these subpersonalities are like different puzzle pieces that make up our complex lives. They pop up in various roles we play in life, and sometimes they don't even get along with each other. So what's a subpersonality? Did you know that every time we say I, it's one of our subpersonalities taking the reins and not our true self? These sneaky subpersonalities shape our view of the world and guide our actions. They each have their own kind of unique traits, like a self-image, body language, emotions, habits, and beliefs. Our inner selves consist of multiple subpersonalities, and these can lead to conflict and chaos. However, by being self-aware, we can manage these subpersonalities and choose the one that fits the situation best. By doing so, we become the director of our inner play and choose our roles wisely. So to make it happen, we call upon our core self, or our I. This I is a bit like the captain of our consciousness, watching and guiding the integration journey. In a birth chart, we have the center white circle in the Huber astrological psychosynthesis model. This is where we're trying to operate from. And at any one given moment, we might decide to, just to jump off into astrology for a second, be operating from our Mars or various other planets within there. But ultimately, what we want to do is become the captain of this, operate from that white center in the middle to make decisions for our lives and not be cajoled or seemingly under operation from the planets. So subpersonalities are a mix of attitudes, behaviors, and emotions that we use to handle different situations. Again, going back to astrology, think of how we would launch from our Mars in a given situation, the warrior principle, perhaps versus Venus, the harmonizing principle. They're quite a different archetypal kind of energy, and that would be a very different subpersonality. So you could think of it in those terms. So think of them as our secret sidekicks, helping us navigate around the world. Navigate the world around us. Sometimes our subpersonalities are on point, and other times they go rogue and cause some trouble. But deep down, they're all trying to look out for us, whether it's keeping us safe from danger or just helping us feel comfy and content. That's a great example of Mars versus Venus. Mars as the warrior is fantastic if we need to run into a burning building and save somebody, or if we need to stand up for ourselves, or maybe have a level of assertion in a boardroom meeting, for example. Mars, well conditioned, can be really effective there. But it can also be the right and wrong energy if we're not using it appropriately, and be a little bit domineering or aggressive. Likewise with Venus. Venus, wonderful, perhaps if you're trying to create aesthetics in your home or harmonize with others. Perhaps not the best archetype if we're charging into battlefield. So with these subpersonalities, let's keep it simple. I'm going to walk through 5 stages that I was taught and I use with clients. Those are recognition, acceptance, coordination, integration, and synthesis, the ultimate goal. Yin yang. So with recognition, subpersonalities are like our inner best friends forever, each playing a unique part in our experiences. It's as easy as opening your eyes to find them. So what are your go-to inner buddies, and how do they operate? Which ones seem to get jammed up when it comes to your daily duties and roles? Which ones work well? So this is a reflective part where we come into making a bit of a conscious awareness of our inner world. We want to start recognizing, jotting down notes, thinking about how we move through the world in various different situations and places, people, reactions, all those triggers and whatnot. Of course, we have to be more than our triggers. We're that is just an aspect of us, a subpersonality. For whatever reason that trigger gets formed in our lives, we can still take ownership and develop forward. In acceptance, the second stage, we're looking at needs versus wants. What we really want to do is understand that a subpersonality is valid and that it has needs, and we want to meet those needs. But we can't meet the wants. And if you have kids, you know exactly how that goes. Needs are good, or they're necessary, but wants are impossible to meet. So welcoming a subpersonality and getting it to work with the team of the other subpersonalities within us, is a gradual process that requires some baby steps. And as we work on getting our subpersonality to play nice with others, we start to see the positive traits it brings to the table. But before we can begin this journey, we need to do some real talk and accept there might be some loss and less desirable traits hiding in the shadows. Once we shine a light on them, we can start to replace them with kind of positive attributes. So yes, it is about honoring those kind of subpersonalities. If you take a situation where somebody absolutely requires to move a lot, let's just take a given young child that is just restless with energy. Well, you can't contain a racehorse, and a racehorse can't become, a golden Labrador retriever. It just doesn't work. I believe was it Joseph Campbell or James Hillman? I'm getting lost in my kind of wise mentors, but they said that an acorn doesn't become an apple tree. I believe it was James Hillman, actually. And that's a great testimony. There are pieces of us that are simply who we are, and we need to kind of respect those needs. So, for example, if we look at Alan Turing, right, the cryptographer that solved the war back in England during the Second World War, I believe he would run to London, which was something ridiculous like 20 or more than that miles away, and he would run for meetings, to disperse his energy, and for a billion reasons, probably mental health and you name it, but he did it, and he brought that into alignment with his meetings. If he didn't, maybe he would get to the meeting and just be crazy and not be able to sit still, or be labeled with ADHD or something. But at the end of the day, he was able to factor in those needs and bring his major running, his can't sit stillness, into the factor, into the fold, and work from that angle. So that's kind of understanding needs versus wants, and realizing that people simply have needs and it's important to honor them. So the next stage of acceptance, it's common for us to push away parts of ourselves that we don't like shoving that awkward subpersonality into the closet, fearing that it will stay there forever. But here's a secret. It's actually a really big part of psychosynthesis, to be honest. The secret is that embracing our quirks and complexities is the key to unlocking our true potential. By accepting these parts of ourselves, we can uncover our genuine needs and find ways to fulfill them, unlocking our hidden strengths while transforming our weakness into something even better. This is really about love without judgment. A lot of wisdom teachings, religions, psychosynthesis, psychology is huge on this, that we need to come into ourselves and yoke and yin yang the process. For example, there's a line in the Bible where they say marriage is between a man and a woman. And of course, that's not literal. What that means is it's a statement towards an esoteric process of yin yang, that the masculine and the feminine, the yin, feminine side, if you will, the yang masculine come together and form a synthesis of both those attributes. And that's what we're truly kind of aiming for in the psychosynthesis model, that there's a marriage of these parts, an amalgamation of these pieces within us. And if we rise up to them and believe in the process of synthesis, in yin yang, if you will, that they're valid and that we can form a great team within ourselves. Okay. That last statement on the marriage between a man and woman being an esoteric statement might ruffle some feathers, but you can leave some comments if you will, and I'm absolutely happy to negotiate those with you. Coordination is all about getting to the root of what your various subpersonalities crave and bringing those desires to light. So we're coordinating, which is not easy. This means working with each of these inner voices to find a mutually agreeable solution that satisfies everyone, helps you grow, and leaves you feeling fulfilled. Alan Turing needs to get the energy out, whatever, needs to run. Who knows why? A billion reasons why. But he coordinated, and I'm going to do the meeting. I'm going to run to London. I'm going to save the world, solving using cryptography and advanced algorithms. And I realize I need to get some energy out, so I'm going to run there to do so. So trust us, even a little bit of satisfaction can go a long, long way, right? Ever ignore a part of yourself and then feel like you're grasping for the stars? Turns out those neglected subpersonalities just need a little love. Just get your running shoes on and run to London. That 4-year-old version of you, it's still kicking around because it hasn't felt heard or seen since you were 4. Try tuning in, showing it some TLC, and watch it grow before your very eyes. When your subpersonalities are in sync, they go from being your opponents to your teammates. It's super important. We got to get the gang together, okay? Ted Lasso. Integration is important, so we're not compromising here. Picture a symphony orchestra where each subpersonality takes on a different instrument. Integration is like the conductor weaving all the sounds together in perfect harmony. Without it, each subpersonality would be a lone wolf. It would be horrible to listen to, battling for control and suppressing the weaker ones. But with integration, they work together like a finely tuned instrument to create something truly beautiful. So, what's this result? It's personality that's more effective with each aspect given the chance to flourish and grow. It's not about perfect or presenting perfect to society. Moses from the Old Testament was a convicted murderer. So it's not about being good or bad or anything. You can't be good or bad. Philosophy 101, anything under the umbrella of the heavens cannot possibly be good or bad or have that judgment against it. I mean, I'd probably recommend, live a life without killing people. Always a good idea. But this is not a moral statement in this video. It's about coming into alignment with who you are, which is going to be different than me and everyone else, and to trust that process. Synthesis. Here is my yin yang symbol. You'll notice in the yin yang, and I wish I knew more about yin yang. I study it. I'm fascinated by it, but I'm just a poser. If you look at it, there's a fluidity to the image, right? Nice, soft kind of rounded integration. It's within a circle. There's no hard edges. The black and white are separate and distinct, but they're of the same circle. And this is important because people challenge me on dualism all the time. We don't like dualism, I guess, as a philosophy. We're not separate from anything. I am you, you are me, the neighborhood, everything, the collective unconscious that Carl Jung elaborated so well about. However, we see that in the black, there is white, and in the white, there is black. So there is always a relationship. The kind of like a coin. There's two sides to a coin. There's maybe heads and tails. A nickel in Canada, beaver on one side and the queen on the other, I believe. But it's the same coin. They're separate. They're distinct, I should say, but they're not separate. They're of the same coin. St. Teresa of Avila wrote so beautifully about light coming through a stained glass window. The light comes through all the various parts of the stained glass window, right? It comes through and it's distinct because we look through those beautiful, majestic stained glass pieces, right? They're so effective at bringing in such a divine aesthetic. And that light comes through, but then it does coalesce into white light when it reaches the inside of the church, of the chapel, of the cathedral, of the home, of the wherever. And that amalgamating process shows to us that we're not separate, but that we can be distinct. And this is important with synthesis. All our subpersonalities are valid and distinct, but they're not separate. We want to be operating from the white center in our birth chart, from that divine internal resonance, knowing that we're valid, whole, and appropriate. So with synthesis, imagine reaching the ultimate level in personal growth. Harmonization heaven. This final phase polishes your personality to perfection. Now, I would say a life's work takes a lifetime. There's no perfection, certainly from my side. I can barely get out of bed half the days, but here we are. And we're smoothing out any rough edges. So the result, you'll radiate responsibility, kindness, and teamwork with a selfless drive to make the world a better place. As you gel with others, you'll truly become a harmonious masterpiece. So thank you. Again, my name is Mark Douglas. I do psychosynthesis work. I'm an astrological psychosynthesis consultant teacher. And the credits go to the Synthesis Center, San Francisco, and the Synthesis Center of Amherst, Massachusetts, Dr. Dee Dee Furman. Thank you so much and have a great and wonderful day.